Hello, greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world. Happy Monday to you. Today, we're going to talk ticker MAJI, MAJI, and we have a very special guest with us who's going to give us a really awesome presentation. I've seen the presentation. Can't wait to get into it. And I'm talking about none other than Casey Barksdale of the Island 40 Group. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's get right to it. Casey, welcome back to the BFC. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, buddy?
Very, very good. So we talked last night, and I'm very excited to be hosting this informative session with you. So before we get into the presentation, just remind us, because you were on the show before, just remind us who you are and where you fall into place in all of this.
Yeah, my name's Casey Barksdale. I own and founded a company called Island 40 Group. Recently met Matt, as you know, from Vista Med, and decided to form a partnership through several discussions about, what the future looked like of medicine, what the future looked like in healthcare. And we had a lot of synergies, a lot of same focal points. I love his team. So decided that a partnership made a lot of sense for the next 5 to 10 year run. So that's who we are and why we're here.
All right, so we're going to get into this presentation. Before we do, tell me what this presentation is going to entail.
Yeah, so me and Matt, when we first started talking, we originally decided we were just going to carve out the pharmaceutical distribution leg of Island 40, which is, NueVistraMed. Well, after talking more and more about my time, about my bandwidth, about where my goals are and aspirations, and then him learning a little more about the other side of the business, the revenue generation side, he saw and I saw the need to just go ahead and roll everything into Nextel because of the opportunity long-term in this. And so we made that decision. I think we released a press release last week about that. So just excited to be able to share with everyone, like we talked on the last podcast, singles, doubles, triples, home runs in a biotech world. This gives us that option, and hopefully this will open everyone's eyes to what exactly we bring to the table from Island 40 Group.
Excellent. All right. I'm just going to now, guys, just so you know, I have the presentation on my slide, so I'm going to be moving this for him. So if you ever want me to move the slide, just tell me to do it. And so I'm just going to kick this thing off, and you could go for it.
Yeah, no. So Island 40 Group was essentially created with two pillars, if you will. The first pillar being pharmaceutical distribution that service clinics, service telemeds, essentially a one-stop shop for clinics, for marketing companies to essentially have a telemed partner, a pharmacy partner, any other health services they might want to advertise. That's the one pillar. The second pillar is a revenue generation side that helps create sustainable revenue for charities, for high schools, for college and institutions as it pertains to not only NIL, but other things, also racing, all the way down to go-kart, dirt track racing. We really have created a wide variety by changing the way people look at fundraising or whatever you want to call it, sponsorships, to creating a sustainable revenue model that just rinses and repeats every day.
Right on.
As you see here, these are the different companies within Island 40 Group. The first one's NueVistraMed, which we talked about. We'll touch on today briefly. That is the pharmaceutical side of this. Mascot Alliance works with schools, colleges, and charities, high schools to help create sustainable revenue. Jumpstart RX works with direct-to-consumer database groups, employer groups to help drive down wellness med costs, such as, if it's potentially a peptide, if it's another drug, we want to help drive down those costs, especially when it comes to self-funded. Parked Alliance is the racing side of this. Essentially the exact same thing we do for colleges, we also do for racing. Parked Health is a health site that we built. That site is actually up. It's not live, but it is up. We are redoing that site right now to not only create, because people don't think about their health till they're sick. So to motivate people to go spend, even though it's fairly inexpensive, $17 a month for telemed for the family, prescription card, vision, dental, and health discounts. They don't really think about that till they need it. Same thing as me. I don't think about a dental problem until I have a cavity or until I have a root, whatever that case may be. It's the furthest thing from my mind. Well, with Parked at Health, we saw that as a challenge. So what we've done is create other things that we're going to add to Parked at Health, such as Maxazone Plus, such as the cancer screening, such as the men's health and women's health when it comes to testosterone, those type of things to give people access. If you notice, the name of the company is designed for the race fan, Parked at Health. So when people put it in victory lane or a driver does, they say they parked it. That's the reason the name is the name, right? Also cuts down on what we have to spend from a marketing standpoint for dollars. Because if you create a niche product with a niche name that resonates within that data set, you no longer have to go spend six figures on marketing. The group itself will market for you because it's very much brand ambassador market. Velo is something I'm really kind of excited about. A buddy of mine introduced me, actually Lance, who runs our college program. We'll talk about him later, but he actually introduced me to a buddy of his who owned a canning line in Tulsa, Oklahoma, needed some small investors to help get an energy drink off the ground. We are going to take that energy drink and do several things with it. Number one, we're going to have one flavor coming out of the gate as kind of a beta test, if you will. We're running our first run. We've already sold all of our first run, so we're pretty excited about that. But then we're going to also add one other flavor in that, similar with sugar, if you will. Then we're going to launch 2 to 3 zero sugars. Then we'll launch 2, I call them zeros, meaning there's nothing in it but flavor, but it's all natural. So we can use that for some of our stuff we do with colleges, we do with high schools. And then we're also going to have a water and wellness line as well as part of Velo. Those will hopefully roll out Q1, Q2 of 2027.
I love the visual here. And I just want to follow up with a couple questions. Because, guys, I seen the presentation, so I wrote down some questions that I did have. So you describe Island 40 Group as a platform that turns relationships into revenue. And, we talked about that before. Can you give shareholders a couple examples of how that has already happened?
Yeah, I've never been a good salesperson, right? I'll say that right now. I'm very much a relationship guy, meaning I don't want to do business with you unless we can sit down and have a bourbon or a beverage, right? If you don't drink, we'll have a Diet Coke. That's what I mean by turning relationships into revenue, because now I have a relationship with you and nothing we do comes in to displace or get rid of any of your current vendors. So the one thing that's hard to me, especially in today's climate, is going into someone and saying, our product is better than X's product, and here's why. And getting people to change from comfortability is very, very hard. So what we've done is we've said, look, if we can build a dynamic relationship with your company, then we can come in, or your school, we can come in and add our partners to this, bolt on to what you have existing, and now we've changed your bottom line. An example of that is we had a recent car dealership we partnered with out of Louisiana. We put our, because that's the revenue that was generated for that dealership over a 10-year period. So they then wrote a check to that college for $10 million over 10 years. So that's an example of revenue or relationship turning to revenue.
So that the benefit happens quite quickly, you would say, right?
Correct. Yes. We can generally, the longest part of this is always the sales cycle, right? Getting through all the back and forth questions, and you've got contracting. Once you get to implementation, you're about 30 days in. So companies start seeing the new revenue, if you will, right? And as you know, Eric, with funding being so hard nowadays, with businesses being hit up every day to write a check, with the ongoing growing cost of doing business, anything that companies can do to save money to their bottom line, number one, but also companies are starting to look at employees differently now, because I think, and I don't mean this negative, but I think forever people like my dad's generation were taken for granted because they were hard workers. They showed up every day. They did their job. Now I think companies are realizing, man, we've really got to take care of our employees in a preventative wellness way, as well as anything else financially. So what you're starting to see is more and more companies get involved in wellness meds, such as potentially peptides, such as other wellness meds that keep their employees healthier before they ever get sick.
Yeah. And then, by the way, I have to admit and agree with you. Humans are creatures of habit. We like comfort and we like the same thing in repetition. So the minute you're able to break that, you're on to something. So I'm all about, the building of relationships. As a teacher, I'm the same way. You're not going to get output from a student unless you have a good relationship with them. And that's the truth.
Everybody, to your point, everybody wants to be a disruptor, right? Me and you talked about it last night.
Yeah.
But the only way you can truly disrupt the industry, and a lot of people don't realize this because they're inventors, creators, whatever, they fall in love with their creation. The biggest part of disruption is education, to your point. Well, if we're going to disrupt the market, we're going to spend 18 months educating people on why the change is needed. And, and when we talk about Mascot, I'll go into it, going and speaking to ADs about, instead of calling Johnny who owns company A and saying, Johnny, we need a check for 20,000. Well, Johnny's like, well, what's my return? I wrote a check last year for 25. My bottom line didn't move. What's the reason for me doing this? Well, those questions are starting to become more and more, because that $20,000 check in 2027 will be a $40,000 check request in 2028. So colleges, charities, and other groups that are looking for sponsorships are going to have to create win-wins to continue to entice these companies to be part of their program.
Got it. And then one more question. I'm going to let you just continue on with the presentation. Looking at all these subsidiaries together, how do they actually work together, and what's the strategy that connects them?
That's the best part. Whenever I go into a meeting, people look at you. When I first was building this, of course, I didn't have any money. I was, financially bootstrapped everything. I would go talk to someone about something we were building. Then I'd talk to them about something else we're building. And they all looked at me like, man, dude, you're all over the place. Like, are you just throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks? And the answer to that's no. So when I go into a college, if we look at Mascot Alliance, I go into a college introduces me to a company, hypothetically, right? We then can go into that company and I can apply NueVistraMed, because NueVistraMed is the direct-to-consumer product that offers wellness drugs, right? I'm sorry, it's the company that offers our medications from our pharmacies to the end user, right? So then we can use NueVistraMed to do that. Then we use all of the vendors that we have under Mascot Alliance for, the vendors we use to help change that bottom line for companies. We use that, all the vendors through Mascot, and then also put a complete employer package together for that employee group.
Excellent. I'm going to keep you going here.
Perfect. This is just talks a little bit about, once again, about Island 40, who we are, nothing major. I've kind of explained who we are and what we do. We can go on to the Mascot Alliance screen there and really talk about what Mascot Alliance does. We talked enough about NueVistraMed, Eric, I think on the last call. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
I will say this about NueVistraMed before we go on. NueVistraMed, in partnership with another testing company, we'll reveal all of that later. We're finalizing a couple contracts. I actually hosted a health summit 2 weeks ago, I think, in Tampa. We had vendors there, from cutting edge vendors that all have patents around their unique things they're bringing to the healthcare space. We also had pharmaceutical or pharmacies there represented. We also had other distribution companies that NueVistraMed works with. And it was a really cool 8 hours just for everyone to talk about, because a lot of times you get people who are extremely smart in a room and no revenue ever comes out of the room, because everyone spends time trying to really showcase their invention. This case, it was all about, how do we drive revenue? How do we walk out of this meeting and go after the low-hanging fruit? So very excited about that, and what I guess the next phase is with what NueVistraMed's doing. Also, NueVistraMed will launch between September and October a portal. That portal will be used for the clinics as a one-stop shop, because like I said, we want to be, anything that goes on in those four walls, we want to be able to be a solution for you. Because here's the thing, if you entangle yourself into a clinic to where you're representing 15 of 20 things that go on, it's very hard to displace you. And we provide great customer service and we provide competitive pricing. Now, the only person they call when they're mad is they're calling me or my director of sales, right? That makes life very easy for a clinic that doesn't have the resources of a 25-person C-suite.
Got it. And guys, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this presentation. I'm going to put a link in the YouTube description. So if you're watching this and you actually want to download this, I'll create a Google Drive link so that way you guys could enjoy the presentation. Let's keep it going. All right.
Just talks about the distribution. So Mascot Alliance was founded literally in my living room of an apartment in San Antonio, Texas. What we saw, and Eric, me and you talked a little bit about this last night, is I used to be a high school basketball coach, and I got my first job because I didn't have a teaching degree. I got my first job as a fundraiser in a high school system. And I always saw that there was a huge gap in what companies got for donating to a high school versus what they actually gave financially, number one. Number two, I saw a lot of inefficiencies as far as how high schools and school systems operate their business model. Give you an example of how this worked at the time, and I'll talk about how it led into Mascot. So went to a school system. They hired me as a special events coordinator. So now we're hosting all these different events. So I convinced them to turn our facilities into a business. What does that mean? We started renting our facilities to the community for events. Then in that same breath, I convinced them to turn our concession stands into a profit center or into a business. How did we do that? Well, we limited our menu to certain things, and then we negotiated with those companies. So Chick-fil-A, our local Chick-fil-A, would sell us sandwiches for $1 per sandwich, $1.50 per sandwich. We're going to turn and sell those sandwiches for $4. Keep in mind, Eric, I never asked them for cash. So that's the one thing when people talk about generating money, everyone always assumes it's cash. There's way more ways to generate money than just cash. So what we did was we said, we're going to sell a Chick-fil-A sandwich for $4. We're going to commit to buying X number of sandwiches for this year. In exchange, you're also going to give us 500 free sandwiches. What do we do with the 500 free sandwiches? If there was a citizenship award party at fourth grade, we gave them enough sandwiches to feed their class. What does that do? It now puts that money that that teacher was going to spend on feeding the students, it now puts that in education. So we created a win-win. If I would have asked Chick-fil-A for a check, I probably wouldn't have gotten a $10,000 check at best. I probably sold 10,000 sandwiches at $4 a piece because remember, I turned our facilities into a profit center, which means now everybody who rents a facility has to sell our concession products at their events. So we're now selling Chick-fil-A sandwiches every time the doors are open. That's one way we did it. The second way we did it is we eliminated people going to every club, every sport, going to the same business and asking them to write a check. So what we did was we set it up to where we would go to the business. We would say, hey, we noticed you've given $20,000 over the last year. We want you to continue doing that, possibly more. That's doable. Here's what we're willing to give you from a win-win, from a sponsorship standpoint, showing you starting lineups, whatever. In exchange, no one will ever come to your door again. Well, as a business owner, you love that. You don't have to say no to people. You're dealing with one person and you're getting value. So that's how this started. When NIL hit the college space, as everyone's familiar with what's going on in college sports, colleges' amount of fundraising went higher in order to compete. Everyone was talking about sustainable revenue. They still haven't figured it out. What we did was looked at an ecosystem that surrounded colleges and universities, and we spent 12 months finding vendors that would not displace anything in that ecosystem but bolt onto it. That would drive new revenue. That's how we built it. So what Mascot Alliance does, we go into a university, we ask them to open up their donor list that owns businesses, hospitals, especially self-funded businesses. And we ask them to make those introductions. We analyze the business. We don't displace anybody. We change their bottom line and then ask them to negotiate it or give a percentage of that new bottom line to the university. We sign a 4-year contract. For 4 years, the school knows what's coming in financially. Now that's a sustainable revenue model. That's how we do it.
And, I honestly think Mascot Alliance is a sleeping giant in the sense that, because I know it, working in the industry, especially in the education industry, schools are always looking for a way to tidy up their financials, raise more money efficiently. And you know what? The truth is like a lot of times you don't want to send 50 kids out soliciting the same businesses over and over. And, it's way more efficient the way you're talking about it. And I've seen it firsthand. And so great stuff here. And I want to ask, because this is probably a question that somebody's going to have. Walk us through one example of how a relationship in sports or business eventually benefits the healthcare side. Because I know like a lot of people are invested in that healthcare aspect of MAJI. So could you describe that a little bit?
Absolutely. We focus when we go into a business because of my healthcare background. When we go into a business, we really look at their healthcare spend. What are they spending on RX? What are they spending on employee benefits? And once again, we don't want to displace anyone because a lot of people don't understand there are things out there set up through tax codes, through other channels that employers can really maximize their health benefits for their employees, right? And even if it's as small as, hey, because you're an employee for this company, we're going to offer you these drugs at this discounted rate just for you being an employee. We've instantly helped that business from a recruitment and retention of that employee standpoint.
Excellent. I'm going to keep this moving for you guys. If you have any questions, by the way, this is a pre-recorded segment, but if you guys have questions, just drop them on X, put them on YouTube, and I will make sure that I get all those questions over to you so that way Casey could answer them. So please do so. All right, let's keep this going here. Jumpstart RX.
We talked about that briefly on the last call. All that is a company that we work with data sets. We work with different groups. And to be honest with you, it's as much as a marketing piece as anything, because we're able to show companies or show other marketing companies what we can build for them to help them get into the market of wellness drugs.
Excellent.
And like I said, we try to make it as diverse as possible. We also try to add things to this to where we're truly giving a health benefit on top of just the medication. So right now we're building Jumpstart or adding to Jumpstart. Let me say it that way, where every script that's sold, person's going to get mental health on top of that script. So they're also going to get a generic RX card. So we're creating a real value, a win-win for not just buying the drug, but also overall health.
Got it. I see peptides up there. See, I know a lot of you guys are into the peptides now. So
we're just waiting on, I think the FDA had some good stuff for us, the 23rd or 24th, whatever. I think we're just hoping that the FDA will sign off on it and we'll be ready to roll.
Excellent. Barksdale Alliance.
Barksdale Alliance is the exact same as Mascot Alliance. We just skinned it different. We named it Barksdale Alliance. Whatever we do for colleges, universities, once again, it's all about distribution channels and being able to get your product out in front of people without spending millions of dollars on marketing. Barksdale Alliance does that because it has a name that resonates in racing. We already work with universities. Now we're starting to work with race teams, race owners, governing bodies of race associations, right? Recently, we just helped a dirt track organization. We put about $50,000 in their pocket from helping just move over, helping them bolt something onto their credit cards. Nothing major, but $50,000 goes a long way in paying bills when you run 90 races a year.
Excellent. I'm going to just keep clicking the slides here. It's guys, it's sort of funny because it's like usually, the other person does it, but I think we're doing all right here. We're doing all right.
Survive in advance. You didn't realize you were going to be you were going to be on a call with a guy who has zero technology savviness.
Hey, we make it work, baby. That's it.
So this is Velo right here. Once again, I think our marketing guy did a phenomenal job with the can, with what we're rolling out.
Looks great.
Tidal Rush will be the first one that we roll out. It's part of the first run. The plan in this, like I said, is to have 2 to 3 flavors that are sugar flavored. I call them full throttle flavored, if you will. The next one would be a zero sugar line. We'll have a wellness line as well in the energy drink side. Then we're going to have a water and then a wellness water. So we're very, very excited about the differentiators that we're going to have. And then I think people are going to be very impressed when we release our distribution channels for this, exactly what we're doing. So you asked earlier how this ties in. We own Velo, part of Velo, right? So we go to a school and we say, hey, instead of selling Willy Wonka chocolate bars, nothing against Willy Wonka chocolate bars, they're very good. But instead of doing that, why not sell canned water as a fundraiser, because everyone drinks water? Now it's something practical that people can use. We own that, right? So to my point, instead of selling Willy Wonka chocolate bars, let us build you a prescription card for families that are going to get them free generic, the 1,200 generics for free. Let's sell that card. Now you're getting residual income from that RX card. So I think, once again, what me and you were talking about earlier, education versus disruption, having to educate people that these are things that are not only going to help people, but they're going to put money in your pocket, and they're going to put money in your pocket every month.
Well, I'll tell you too, I love doing product reviews. So you got to send me some of the stuff, because I definitely want to check it out.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Hopefully, it don't get me too wired. I don't know.
No, we're very
no caffeine though. I like that because I'm drinking, guys. I'm going between water and caffeine here today. It's not a bourbon episode, though. I do got the bourbon from last episode down beneath by my feet, but it's caffeine today, guys. Good morning, Nalio. But no, I definitely want to try this product because I like those clean energy drinks. So
we're very excited about it. I mean, we know the space is crowded. We're going to find our niche in there. We've already talked to some distribution companies. Like I said, we're going to use the high school or the school space as a distributor as well. So we're very, very excited about where we're going with this.
Awesome. Excellent.
Parked at Health. Parked at Health is a, like I mentioned earlier, it's a health site that gets us in the game of racing, plus and we're giving away health packages starting in January to some of the drivers, to some of the pit crews, stuff like that, to really help get our brand out there, right? Then we're also working right now on building a driver and a crew program for wellness, specifically white gloved for them. So the average fan is going to have access to the $17 a month, opportunity. I think there's even one for $27. But then we're even adding primary care, urgent care packages to this that are in person, not just digital. And then we're adding a white glove service to where if you want a white glove service, you want to talk to one of our medical professionals, us run extensive tests, us lay out a wellness program that really will change your life, then we want to offer that to you as well. Now, it's going to have a premium price tag to it, but that's just going to be certain things that we add to this as we go through this.
Excellent.
One of the things we've talked about on the last show is our ability to build healthcare programs for different companies. So company Slim RX reached out to us. They were interested. They needed a telemed. They needed a pharmacy partner. They wanted to bolt some stuff on through health services, such as a prescription card and other things. So we're building their back end for them, for their site. They'll build the front end. We'll then provide everything on the back end. Healthy Heroes, it should launch. Eric, we're building it right now. Good Lord willing, it's going to launch November 1st, between November 1 and December 1. Strictly built for veterans, first responders, going to be extremely discounted wellness meds for them. Also, there's a charity component attached to this. So we're partnered with Wounded Warriors, partnered with Cigars for Warriors, folds of honor in certain regions, right? Not necessarily nationally, but certain regions. So what happens is if they refer a client to us, the client's going to have that option to click that charity. Percentage of every sale goes to that charity, number one. If let's say they don't click anything, we automatically give to Cigars for Warriors as our gift. And we'll donate a cigar. Every time someone doesn't do it, we're donating a cigar. That's something very passionate to me personally as well. Forever Well's another company that reached out to us that needed help in building an end-to-end solution. And we're in the process of building that right now. Eric, since we spoke on the last podcast, we're building 12 of these, just to give you an idea.
Wow.
Which for investors, it's revenue.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on to the operational overview. And I know we talked a little bit about why you wanted to include. Guys, this is not a one-man operation, as you can see here. So why don't you give a rundown of who the team is?
So I thought it was very important because I felt like that came up on the last call, talking about bandwidth, talking about different things that we had as far as a team goes, right? Matter of fact, I think there was a specific question to that. Right now, we have anywhere between 15 and 25 1099 sales people. Now, that's going to change a little bit as the merger happens to where we're going to add more people, divide them more into territories, and kind of restructure a little bit of what we're doing. But we're also going to give our 1099 sales team more ammunition to walk into a clinic and be able to upsell or be able to add things rather than what we're currently selling. Stephen Evans runs all of our brand development. He created the deck that you see here. Also, the websites, all the front end stuff we do. He also helps kind of, like I said, I'm not very tech savvy at all, helps coordinate with the telemeds and the marketing companies to make sure everything's connected properly. Darren Ivey lives in North Carolina, came on board with us about a year and a half ago. Handles all of our 1099 sales team, runs all of that. We do things a little different, Eric, in how we build things. And I built it all based upon the way I am as a person. Some may call it ADD. Some may call it just, I don't know what you would call it. But I'm very good at building a relationship. I'm very good at, how do I say this? Manifesting that relationship is probably a good word to use there. Where I struggle is following up constantly to close the sale, if you will, a little bit. I struggle a little bit with, while I'm waiting on you to decide what you're going to do, I need to be over here working on this other sale because what happens if this don't close, right? So the way we've kind of built our sales team is we put experts in each funnel. So what I mean by that is Darren, like we have one gentleman who does all medical supplies. So if you have a medical supply lead, you give it to him. Now, we give him more commission than we do the sales rep because he's the one doing all the work. But now, as a sales rep, you don't have to be an expert in 20 things. You only have to be an expert in one. The sales team will throw it into your funnel, if that makes sense. That's how we built our sales, which it allows our sales team to churn and burn versus getting bogged down on nothing but follow-ups. So I know there are probably traditionalists that'll tell me that's the dumbest idea ever, and I can respect that. But for me and the way I am personally, it works because a lot of the leads that I have, I don't have time to necessarily spend and close them and all that. So it's so much easier to throw it over to one of our team members. Lance Gerlach, he runs all of our college stuff, all of our relationships with colleges, everything. If I have a college that is interested, Lance works that situation for us. Lance was actually the CRO at the University of Colorado. So he was a Buffalo. He was the chief revenue officer inside the athletic department. So he actually has for him, this was very eye-opening when we first presented the college space to him and how we're looking to change the game. Because, for him, it's only been done one way for 2,500 years, if you will. Well, this was kind of very refreshing to him because, to his point, like he always said, it has to change. You can't keep beating the same donor up all the time. So he was very excited to come down this path, and he's been phenomenal in leading our college program. Right now, I think we work with about 10 institutions, give or take, some more in depth than others, but that part is growing. Also, I want to point out too, Eric, I think this is very important, is when we built this, all of our vendors can also stand alone. And what I mean by that is we don't just depend on the college to take us to the employer group to get the process started. Let's say you called me, Eric, and said, hey, I've got a friend who owns Johnny's Car Wash. Would you guys go talk to him about what you can do for him? Absolutely. So now we can, this can stand alone in a general sales world. It can work through colleges. It can work through race teams, and even our pharmacy sales group that sells all of our, NueVistraMed products. They can also go into those clinics and say, hey, you're an employer group. We can help you save money on the overall picture. Josh Redwine, and I may have said his name wrong. Josh, I apologize if you ever see this. Josh has been with us now for a year. Josh is a young rock star in employee benefits. So he handles all of our employee benefits. If there's a call for employee benefits, Josh handles it.
Excellent. I'm telling you, I love this presentation, and this is what I look for when I look for an OTC company, and I look for all the subsidiaries. I mean, this is a freaking meaty presentation. You want to get into the numbers now?
We can. Yeah, we'd love to talk numbers.
Might as well.
Now, these are all upcoming projections that we're looking at. So, currently right now, as we discussed, we're around $135,000 a month company. I will tell you this, since our last podcast, those numbers have gone up just because of contracts being signed. Now, they haven't went up as far as dollars coming in yet, but over the next 60 days, they will go up substantially because of the recent contracts we've signed. We feel our pharmaceutical revenue is going to get to around $250,000 a month, give or take. Very confident in that. Our medical supplies, we think we're going to be at somewhere around $20,000 a month, because remember, NueVistraMed represents the medical supplies, but Mascot Alliance is selling the medical supplies a lot of times, because what does every college have? Physical training stations, all of that stuff. So they all, that you asked earlier how they all tie together. Once you start really looking at the synergies of what each company does, the other company is just a sales force for the next company, is all it is, with a different name. We just recently partnered with our lab and testing division. It's going to have 3 different types of tests, 3 different types of labs, also not including the cancer screening, but we think that's going to be roughly $20,000 a month in 2027 as we roll that out.
Amazing.
Our employee benefits, we feel very confident we're going to be somewhere around $100,000 a month. We're trending well up there now. Our diminished value product, we use that for auto dealerships. We have an unbelievable partner for that. I know nothing about cars, let me say that. But when I looked at what surrounded college campuses, every campus has a car dealership, right? So now, once again, Eric, I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier. How does everything tie together, right? So I go into that car dealership. I have someone who goes in who runs our auto division who talks car. He talks car. We get them partnered with us. What do we do in 6 months when they're happy with that product? We go right back in and say, you know what? We can help your employees with their health benefits and not displace anybody. Now we've created multiple sales with inside that dealership without displacing anything they currently do.
Awesome.
When you look at credit card revenue, that's something we really don't push a whole lot. The reason it's in is we think that's a very nice value add for clinics, because a lot of clinics struggle with high rates on their credit cards. We want to help them out if they need help, right? We don't force anything down their throat, but we want to help them if we can. Reveal, remember we talked about biotech, biopharma, home runs. Reveal is the home run. So Reveal goes into hospitals, clinics, of larger clinics, not your wellness clinics, but larger clinics. And we help those hospitals find lost revenue that they don't have the manpower to do, right? And we do it a few different ways. Really don't want to give out the secret sauce, if you will, because this is a competitive market and it's becoming more and more competitive. And everyone's trying to find the secret sauce to create sustainable revenue for these institutions. I feel we've done that. We have multiple technology partners. We actually have two. We have a technology that just came to market that is it's a very unique technology. What it does is it doesn't need Wi-Fi. So let's say I'm watching your podcast. You'll appreciate this. This ties into you. Let's say I'm watching your podcast, Eric, and you say, I'm going to take a drink of this bourbon. No one knows what that bourbon is, right? And I'm sure unless someone's going to pay you, you're probably not going to tell them what that bourbon is. But with this,
unless I really like it, unless I really like it.
But with this technology, it sends a link to the person's phone, communicating through their speaker system, through sound waves of what that bourbon is. So it's an advertising tool that speaks directly. Imagine being at a professional basketball game and you know how the shell game works where the shells do all this, but you're sitting there watching the shells on the Jumbotron move around and you're picking one. No one knows if you won or not won, right? In fairness, it's just you and you can look at your significant other and say, I won, baby. She's going to be like, shut up, you didn't, but whatever. But the point in saying this is now it comes to you on your phone because it communicates speaker to speaker. So now the shell game's going on, you win. Imagine sending you a McDonald's free drink coupon right then. Now, if you're a sponsorship person of that team, you know exactly who's opening and who's seeing your coupons. Now you can create a true return on investment back to that donor. Brand new technology.
That's amazing.
Cutting edge. We have distribution rights to that. The other technology is an AI program that works with athletes that allows parents to video their athlete. It instantly turns that video into a highlight reel.
Awesome.
So we're getting ready to roll that out as also a fundraiser for schools.
That's cool.
So now 25 students on your soccer team, everybody uses this AI. Now the school makes money.
That's great.
Prescription benefit program. That's where we go in and carve out certain prescriptions for self-funded groups. Our health build revenue projections, we think we're going to, do $25K a month just in what we're building on our health builds for companies. So, that's kind of an overall look at where we think numbers are. Like I said, I'm the world's worst at projections. I'm the world's worst at, feeling like we're bragging a little bit, if you will, because of the revenue. And it's not that at all. We're very, very excited about what we've built and excited about helping people.
Well, you absolutely should be. I mean, you have a kick-ass team behind you. And, I love to see presentations like this. I like to see the nuts and bolts of everything, breaking down the different divisions within the business and giving us projections as well. This is awesome, guys. If you haven't, click on the link to check out this whole presentation. I'm going to give you a final word here over the next couple years. Where are you going? Anything you want to say to shareholders? The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, my thing is for shareholders, and I've said this multiple times, we're a very unique biotech company that truly has singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. We are truly focused on creating revenue, but also helping patient outcome. We're very focused on that. Over the next 24 months, our goal is to have a very disciplined approach to where we're not chasing squirrels. We are truly building something within our ecosystem that fits, that is a very simple sell for our sales agents and also our partners. That's our long-term goal. If I was an investor, I would be all over what we're doing because I truly think, and look, I'm in the weeds every day, but I truly think this is the new way biotechs are going to be formed.
Awesome. I want to thank you for your time, for coming on the show and really explaining this. And I look forward to having you on again as things roll out and as things progress. Please don't be a stranger to the BFC and the OTC community. And, You're crushing it, man. So just don't stop. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, I want to come on and do a straight question and answer session where people just throw them at us and we're able to answer them because, like I said, I love this stuff. I think it's changing every day, and I think this is the future of revenue generation.
Yeah, let's set it up. Let's do it. Let's set for mid-August, mid to late August, and we could do an open Q&A where people could fire off questions. Because I'm telling you, like, just looking at the presentation, I know investors and traders are going to have ideas or questions, and they're going to throw. This is a very educated community when it comes to investing. So, I love what you presented today. There's definitely going to be a lot of questions on how it's all incorporated underneath the MAJI. And right now, I mean, this in and of itself is just well laid out. I've seen a lot of presentations. This is one of the best. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And we look forward to having you on in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, buddy. Everyone have a great, safe weekend. Thank you.
Stay well, guys. Remember, there's more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out.